Top of the morning folks, today from the Reddit Rainforest. What is the most embarrassing thing you have ever witnessed someone else go through? I used to go fishing out with my dad and brother-in-law. My dad had been going through cancer treatments for the past several years, and it had really taken a toll on his body. He had been getting older and the cancer treatments had caused him to shite without much warning at all. Well, we are all fishing one day in his boat and all of a sudden my dad says uh-oh. We had no idea what was about to happen, but we see him shuffling around on the front deck and proceeded to drop his pants, hang on to the front seat on the deck and shite all over the front deck, not even coming close to the edge of the boat. Well, at this time my brother-in-law starts puking off the back and I catch a fish. So I'm reeling in a fish. My brother-in-law is puking and my dad is unloading quite possibly the biggest shite I have seen onto the front of the boat. After I realize what has happened, I look around and notice that a whole family has gathered on their back porch and has been watching this all unfold in front of them while they were having a big grill out of maybe about 12 people. My junior year in college, I was taking a demographics class. About 100 students in a lecture hall. The teacher used a wireless clip-on mic. One day, she gives us an assignment and leaves the room. She left her mic on by accident. The next 5 minutes, 100 students listened to the sounds of our 60-year-old female teacher taking the most massive, loud dump in the history of mankind. It was piping through the speakers at full volume. Every single student was in one of those full crying and laughing so hard uncontrollable fits. The sounds that came out of that woman were ungodly. I watched a friend propose to his longtime girlfriend, who then rejected him. It was at a huge science fiction convention, and my friend, whom we'll call Brad, had been dating longtime girlfriend and costume maker, Janet. Brad was nearly 15 years older than her. He was in his late 30s, and she was in her early 20s. She was a little quiet and reserved. It always seemed like she was bored and not very interactive around him. He always did the kissing, the hand holding, and so on, and she always just stood there, smiling politely. Brad wanted me to make the formal announcement in a large gathering of about 100-200 people. So I did, and Brad got on stage with Janet, and he proposed. I can still remember the look on her face. Alarmed, sad, and then pity. No, Brad, just no, she said quietly. Then she ran away in an awkward gait. I do not think she was crying, but Brad looked horrible. Later, I found out she did not contact him for a week, and when she did, she showed up with his things and a formal apology that she led him on and so on. She dumped him, said she was really sorry. Brad was crushed, and so embarrassed I have not seen him since, and that was almost 15 years ago. It was more fun than anything else, but my brother was flirting with a flight attendant, who thought he was mentally handicapped. He did not realize this. I did nothing to help. It started with him referring to another attendant as the lady in the red dress and it just got worse and worse. At one point she asked if our parents were with us. He pointed to the row they were in, and she said, "Wow, that's great that you're not sitting with them." He replied, "Yeah, I do stuff without them all the time. I'll let him know when we were getting the rental," and he was crestfallen. 6th grade. The entire class is at a public indoor swimming pool. Him kicking back with 2 friends in the men's sauna. And we decide to hit the showers, just to make it even more awesome to re-enter the sauna. So there we are, but naked, when my friend decides to go for a swim with the rest of the class. So he happily jogs out to the pool. I still to this day have a picture printed in my mind of his pale, bare ass leaving the men's locker room. I realized it just before he was out of my sight. But, well, I thought not telling him would be funnier. A minute later he emerges from the doorway screaming duck, face red as a tomato and both hands covering his crotch. My other friend and I completely lost our shite. Apparently, he made it all the way into the pool and swam a good 10 seconds before it dawned on him.
Pool story, bro.
In high school there was a guy that was morbidly obese. I mean, this guy was big. Long story short is he got stuck in a chair during an assembly and had to be removed from it. God, I have never felt so bad for someone. The entire auditorium man. Reminds me of an overweight, unpopular girl competing in a talent contest. She did belly dancing. Most of the auditorium was just brutally laughing and shouting mean things at her until she eventually just left the stage before the dance was even over. I had an obese friend that caved in a plastic lawn chair during one of my BBQs. It happened in front of probably 20 people during a lull in the conversation. That was awkward. I worked at a filth shop for 6 years, so I have plenty of those stories, like the older married couple coming in and buying gay filth and a big black dildo. For instance, the look on the wife's face will haunt me. Please tell us more of these stories. We had regulars, people that would come in and rent movies mostly. Some people even came in weekly to buy or $9.99 DVDs which were of terrible quality and at least 10 years old. A new top shelf filtho like Brazzers or Wicked costs about $50 at that store. One such customer would come in about once a month. He would buy anywhere between $1,700 and $2,000 worth of the $9.99 movies. We all knew him because he destroyed the sections that he looked through, never putting anything away. We all assumed he owned the Shite Time Hotel around the corner, cause we thought we heard him talking about selling the movies for double the price. One time he came in and brought up about 250 movies that I was organizing by squad number. When I asked him how much money he thought he would make off of these, he just stood there blankly staring at me. I asked if he owned the motel down the street. Nothing. I asked what he did with all the movies he buys. I watch them. He did not come back for a few months. Now I do not judge people. You cannot working in a place like that. But apparently there is a man out there who spends the better part $2,000 a month on some of the shittiest filth known to man. His collection can probably be seen from space. I was working the cash register at a Walgreens pharmacy a few years back. It was raining, and an elderly man rushed down aisle 2 tracking huge amounts of mud all over the floor to the bathroom. After only 2 minutes, the man quickly left the store. We have people come in to use the bathroom without shopping all the time. That's when the smell hit me. I left the register and saw that there was not mud, but green-brown diarrhea smeared all across the floor, with drips that flung off his pant legs and onto the products on the bottom shelf as he walked. I followed the trail of sadness to the bathroom and found the poor guy did not make it to the toilet in time, as there was a Lake Superior-sized puddle of filth leading down the front edge of the toilet onto the floor with a smidgen actually in the water. To top it off, there was poop on the toilet handle and bathroom sink. I'm presuming he tried wiping too fast so he could get out. We had to call the cops on the man because he left a bubbling biohazard waste dump inside of a pharmacy without alerting anyone. I quit the next week as I was low man on the totem pole and had to clean it up. My friend is a huge moron and experiences crippling embarrassment on a daily basis. One time he was screwing around with his brother, put a sock over his hand, touched his dog's penis, and then touched his brother's face. About an hour later we were hanging out, and his mother came home from work, stormed into his room and, in front of me and a few other people yelled, "Willie_Main's friend, why did you do that to your brother?" He shrugged and said he did not know, and that his brother made him mad. This pissed her off more and she said, "So every time I'm mad I should go touch the dog's penis?" We all cracked up, but it was probably pretty embarrassing. His mom had serious rage issues and ended up having a nervous breakdown because of it. It was not until we were all grown up that I realized this was a daily occurrence and it probably made his life a living hell. I was in my high school journalism class. We were working late trying to finish the paper. Prom was coming up. When everything was quiet, our editor suddenly breaks into a full-on song and dance number. He's dancing on tables, singing poorly, and throwing flowers everywhere. He makes his way over to this shy girl in the class, gets down on one knee, and asks her to the dance. She says no. At that very moment, someone was finishing their soda, and it made that empty straw sound. Brutal. I knew this guy who was a closet atheist living in a Christian household. His mother walked in on him masturbating, and instead of leaving his room mortified, she walked up to him and slapped his cock away from his hand. She berated him for a good hour and the next day he went to protective services and had her arrested for smashily molesting him. Technically I did not witness this, but I thought the story was relevant somehow. I worked in a crappy nightclub where we used to encourage the customers to dance on the tables. One night at about 2 AM, a huge woman had been throwing shapes on one table for about half an hour and decided that now was the time to make her move on some guy on the dancer floor. She picks her moment, screams his name, and that she wants to take him home over the music and jumps off the table. Upon landing her weight was enough to drive the heel on her shoes through the sole and about 2 inches up into her foot. The crowd gathered around to watch this scantily dressed blimp roll on the floor in agony trying to reach her feet around her massive frame to pull the heel out. No one offered to help. Did you guys know the word for juice and jizz in French are very close? I did not until I had a whole cafe of waiters laughing their asses off at me. They said my French was pretty passable before I ordered a big glass of cum to go with my breakfast. A similar thing happened to me. I was in a cafe in Tel Aviv and asked for a glass of water, except glass and pussy sound almost exactly the same in Hebrew. So basically I asked the waiter for pussy water. Last Halloween a bunch of us got all twisted on a number of things. Shite got real awkward in that house. Everyone was in very altered mindsets. We had heard rumor that one of our male friends recently had hooked up with another man, and in front of 30 people, hopped up on this that, and the next thing. Friend A proceeds to ask friend B about his sexuality. Friend B did not know left from right at this point in the night and just stood there in shock. He was then prompted for a reply and still did nothing. He then walked to the front door and stripped on his way down the street and ran off naked into the night. No one knows where he slept or what happened. But the next morning he returned to the house wearing only young girl sweatpants and said he wanted to go home. Not a word was said the entire 3-hour drive home. Or to this day. If you are reading this, you watched until the end of the video. Smash that like button if you have enjoyed it. Bam. On screen there should be some more videos similar to this. So either go do something else or watch more videos. That's about it. There is no more here. What are you waiting for, a secret message or something? This is not a secret, but subscribe for more videos like this.